Gilbert, we're fascinated by Shohei Ohtani on this program. Compas on the beat, but I think the whole world feels the same way about Ohtani. We all want to know more about the two-way superstar from Japan. And Jeff Fletcher, Angels beat reporter for the OC Register, knew we wanted more Ohtani and delivered with a book called Sho-Time, the inside story of Shohei Ohtani and the greatest baseball season ever played. Jeff, welcome to the show. And what's the feedback been for the Ohtani book? And how have these last few days gone for you since you've released the book?
Well, it's been a little crazy. I've been doing a lot of interviews, spreading the word about the book. People seem to be pretty happy with it. People like it, which is great. It's still going to probably take a little while for it to really get in the hands of all the general public because of the whims of Amazon. But hopefully, people get it soon, and I start getting some 5-star ratings, and people like it.
Jeff, I just mentioned that I got the book on Amazon, and when I got there, it already said bestseller, and it only said a few copies available. So these things are moving fast. I'm sure you're happy to hear that. So I encourage everybody to get this book. But Jeff, let me ask you, what made you want to write this book on Ohtani? And obviously, you know a lot about the team and the player because you're the Angels beat reporter for the OC Register. But how much extra work went into this after you decided to do the book?
Well, first of all, I mean, what he did was so incredible. And in 25 years I've been covering baseball, I've never seen anything like this. Nobody who's alive has seen anything like this. It's just really phenomenal to be able to be one of the best hitters in the majors and one of the best pitchers in the majors. It's just unprecedented. And so since I had been covering him for his entire career, somebody had to write a book on it. And I was figured that it might as well be me because anybody else would not have the same insight that I've had. So I should do it before somebody else does. And it's been great to see people get excited about it.
Yeah, and good timing, Jeff, during the All-Star game in Los Angeles, so that worked out for you. And he's having another great season too. But let me ask you about the title. I know when you got to sell a book, you need a strong, catchy title. And best, or I guess greatest season ever played in baseball history. It goes way back. There you go. Put the book, plug it, and tell me about the title, though. I'm sure I'm not disputing it, but some people are probably going to dispute and saying, "What do you mean the greatest baseball season ever? This game goes back to Babe Ruth." I guess for you, why did you decide to call it that, and why is it the greatest season ever for a baseball player?
Well, I mean, anybody who is an elite pitcher and an elite hitter, that never happens. So right off the bat, you're knocking out almost every other baseball season that anybody's ever had. There've been great offensive seasons, great pitching seasons, but they're still just one thing. So if you want to go two-way seasons, you really just have Ohtani and Babe Ruth. And I think that Babe Ruth really only did it twice, 1918 and 1919. And both of those seasons, he only pitched about half the time. He really just wanted to hit. And it was kind of a fight with him and the Red Sox because they wanted him to keep pitching and he wanted to keep hitting. And then the next year he went to the Yankees and there was no more pitching. So Ohtani really is totally committed to doing both. He did both from wire to wire last season. He's done both all the way through this season. And the competition now is obviously much tougher than it was when Babe Ruth was playing. There's, baseball's integrated and there's more technology that the players use to analyze each other to figure out, how to beat each other. And, there's more travel. It's just, they play more games. It's just much more difficult, I think, to succeed in Major League Baseball now as it was 100 years ago.
Jeff, your book gets into Ohtani's injury-riddled seasons of 2019, 2020. How tough were those seasons for Ohtani, and how much did he have to change his mentality and physically to have a breakout season in 2021?
Yeah, those were obviously very tough for him because, I think a lot of people kind of gave up on him too because we'd seen him do it in 2018, but then he got hurt and he kept getting hurt. He had a few different injuries. He had surgery twice. And I think that a lot of baseball just sort of figured it was never going to happen. And I think Ohtani knew that. He had that kind of weighing on him. And he said going into 2021, I know I disappointed a lot of people because I've been hurt and haven't been able to see what I wanted, what I could do. So he knew that it was all riding on basically last season. And that certainly had to affect all of his workouts as he went through the winter leading up to last season. And he just he delivered.
Well, what's been the most unique thing about Ohtani in the years that you've covered him, or is there something that maybe while you're writing the book, something jumped out at you about him?
Well, obviously, the most unique thing is that he's a two-way player. So if we put that aside, I think one of the interesting things about him that people really might not realize if they don't watch him a lot is he really has a lot of fun on the field. you can kind of feel like he's a machine just because of what he does, his performance. But he's out there kind of goofing off, at times with the other players. He jokes around. There was a scene earlier this year where he was in a slump, and so he started doing CPR on his bat in the dugout, and everybody got a laugh out of that. And he does imitations of his teammates, and he's kind of a jokester around the team. So he's really a pretty fun-loving, easygoing guy.
Jeff, this next question might be more for the beat reporter side for you, or maybe the extra chapter on the Ohtani book. But being the All-Star game and Ohtani being one of the biggest stars in baseball, or probably the biggest one, he got a lot of questions this past week at Dodger Stadium about his future and what that means for the Angels, and being a free agent after the 2023 season. I guess what do you think we're heading for that situation where Ohtani and the Angels coming with the free agency so fast?
That's a great question. There's certainly a lot of concern among Angels fans that he's going to be gone at the end of 23. I think this winter the Angels are going to really try very hard to sign him to a long-term contract. They're going to need a lot of money to do that, and they're also going to need to convince him that they're going to win in the long run, which obviously they've not done so far. Both of those things are going to be kind of difficult. I think the easier part is just going to be coming up with the money. The Angels have lots of money, plus Ohtani makes them lots of money, so that helps too. But the Angels are not in an easy situation as far as winning. They have a pretty bad farm system, and you can't just write a check or flick a switch to make that better. So that's going to take a little time. They're going to need to convince Ohtani that they're on the right track and that they can get this turned around as soon as possible. But I don't think anybody's going to expect that they're going to turn around and be a 100-win team next year and win the World Series. But if they can make some progress towards that goal, and certainly he would help, then that would certainly help lock him down.
Okay, and Jeff, for this next question could be a two-parter, and I'm going to ask you to guess, but any idea what that contract number could be for Ohtani? And then the second part, you kind of already answered it, but can this team can they win fast? Can they win next year? I know it just didn't, I was covering a few games, playing backup for you for the exhibition series against the Dodgers, and Joe Madden was saying, this team is stacked with Aaron Rendon, Mike Trout, Ohtani. Obviously, Joe Madden's not with the team anymore. But can they win quickly next year? And also in the contract, can you give me kind of a guess on what that could be for the numbers?
Well, they certainly looked pretty good back at the beginning of the season. They started off 27-17, and everybody thought, this is it. But I think maybe that was a little bit of a mirage. So certainly they can be good. And I think we saw with the San Francisco Giants last year that it's possible to just kind of really hit on all of your offseason acquisitions and just have the perfect season and everything goes right. And you can do that in the short term. That's what the Giants did. So any given year, the Angels have a chance to do that. As for the contract, it's really hard to say because there's no comps for a player like this. You can just say, well, he's worth X as a pitcher and X as a hitter, and add them together and see what that comes out to. And that is going to be a gigantic number. The problem with that also is there's no track record for how long to be a two-way player. So you can't just say, he's this good and we're going to give him that amount of money times 10 years, because you don't know if he could be a two-way player for 10 more years. You don't know if he can do it for 2 more years. So it's really going to be fascinating to see what kind of number the Angels or any other team comes up with when that time comes.
Jeff, do you feel like this offseason, with Juan Soto now on the trade market and then Aaron Judge not knowing what's going to happen, do you think these 3 players could basically play chicken with each other and kind of try and see, well, if Aaron Judge got 500, maybe Ohtani's like, hey, I think I deserve 550, or with Juan Soto's do you think they could play chicken with each other this offseason?
Certainly they're all going to make lots of money. I would like to have any one of their contracts for just a percentage of maybe, the tax withholding part, would be great. But
hey, you should get some marketing. You should get some marketing money off of Ohtani. You just promoted him with that book. There should be a little chunk of change coming your way.
Well, the book is for sale in Japan too. So
oh wow,
that's nice. So,
that's pretty cool.
To answer your question, they're all going to make lots of money, and I don't know. Obviously, Judge is the first guy who's going to be a free agent, so he's probably going to go first. And Soto still has a couple of years left, so he might kind of play it out a little longer. And Ohtani, I think that I can see the Angels really, if they're going to re-sign him, it happening sometime before the start of next season.
Why do you feel like it hasn't worked with the Angels? I mean, going back to you being the beat writer, but you've been around the team for years, and it's like they have Mike Trout. Now you have Shohei. You've spent some money on players. Why do you think it just hasn't come together for them?
Well, the problem is to have a consistently good baseball team, you need to have a really good farm system. And that is where you generate most of your players come from. And most of those guys that don't make very much money, they're all still getting better. And if you don't have that core, you're just not going to win in the long term. No team becomes a good team based on guys they acquire from other teams. They become a great team when you're already a good team and you add a few pieces to that. So you just can't like build your whole team based on guys you get from elsewhere. It just doesn't work. Maybe you get lucky and it works 1 year, but it's not going to work in the long term.
So Jeff, what book is next for you? Second book on Shohei, or what do you got? What do you got cooking? Or are you just gonna take it easy right now?
I'm definitely going to take it easy right now. I got no other books cooking.
So in Japan right now, the famous people are Shohei Ohtani. Then it's you because you wrote this book, right?
I've been doing a lot of interviews in Japan, and one of the other reporters said, "I see you on TV in Japan all the time." Here's the Japanese version, by the way.
Wow,
oh, that's awesome.
So that's pretty cool.
Jeff, have you been to Japan or planning to go anytime soon?
I have not, but I would love to go, and hopefully this book is the ticket for me to get there. Hopefully the publisher over in Japan will fly me over there to do some signings and events, and I think that would be really fun.
What's kind of like I was going to say real quick. What's your number for how many interviews you did and how many were from Japan too?
Oh, geez. I mean, for over Ohtani's 4 years, it's in the hundreds. But just since this book came out, it's easily 40 in Japan.
Wow.
And another, 30 in the U.S.
Well, that is awesome. Sho-Time, the story on Shohei Ohtani. That's an awesome book. Go get it, guys. I'm gonna go purchase it as well. Gilbert told me about it. Now, Jeff, listening to you, that's an awesome picture, by the way. That's a really cool picture. Sho-Time. I mean, that's what LA is all about. They're all about Sho-Time. Now it's Sho-Time. So there you go. Awesome book. Thank you so much, Jeff, for jumping on with us. And we hope that punches your ticket to Japan so you can go out there and do your own tour out in Japan.
That would be great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.